Hi, and welcome. Take a moment now to settle in, find your most comfortable position, and gently close your eyes. Let your body sink deeper into the softness beneath you, feeling supported, feeling safe, feeling ready to rest. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs completely, and slowly let it go. Again, breathe in and out, feeling your shoulders drop, your jaw relax, your whole body becoming heavier and more peaceful. Let go of today. Whatever happened, it's finished now. It can wait until tomorrow. Release your worries, your thoughts, your plans. Set them all aside right now. You don't need to carry anything at all. Tonight, you're traveling somewhere beautiful, somewhere ancient, somewhere filled with warmth and community and gentle magic. Tonight, you're going to Rome. You'll meet four kind friends. On a quest to save something precious, you'll journey through Italian cities, taste delicious food, discover magical yarn blessed by lemon trees and sea breezes. But don't worry about following every detail. This story is simply here to keep you company as you drift deeper and deeper into peaceful sleep. Let the words wash over you like a gentle tide, carrying you toward rest, toward dreams, toward the peaceful darkness of deep sleep. Now, let's begin our journey to Rome, where an adventure awaits, but sleep comes first. Chapter 1. Arrival in the Eternal City. The evening light falls gently across ancient stones, painting everything in shades of honey and gold. Welcome, dear friend, to Rome in the late spring, where time moves slowly, where every cobblestone holds 1,000 stories, and where the air itself seems to whisper of ages past and peaceful moments yet to come. The sun is beginning its descent toward the horizon, casting long, lazy shadows across the city. The light is that special golden quality that only Rome seems to possess. Warm, gentle, timeless, it touches the terracotta rooftops, the cream-colored buildings, the ancient ruins, and transforms them all into something almost dreamlike. Our four friends have just arrived by train, and as they step out of Termini Station with their small suitcases and craft bags, they pause for a moment, simply breathing, taking in the atmosphere of this ancient, beautiful city. Peach the bunny stands very still, her light pink crocheted form glowing softly in the golden light. On her head sits her teal beret, and on the left side of that beret rests a small woven peach, carefully placed. She carries a small woven bag over her shoulder, and her long ears move gently as she listens to the sounds of the city, the distant bells of churches, the soft conversations in Italian, the flutter of pigeons' wings, the gentle splash of fountains. "It's beautiful," Peach whispers, her voice soft with wonder. "Everything feels so old, so peaceful, like the city itself is breathing slowly." Beside her, Biscuit the Bear sets down his suitcase with a gentle thump. His soft brown crocheted form is comforting and solid, and around his neck is wrapped his cream and red checkered scarf, the colors soft and homey. He looks around slowly, his expression peaceful, taking everything in without hurry. It does feel different here, Biscuit observes in his deep, rumbling voice. Like time moves at its own pace, no rush, just being. Mittens the cat stands on Peach's other side, her orange tabby crocheted form bright against the warm stone buildings. Around her neck is her cream woven collar, and attached to it is a small silver bell that makes the softest tinkling sound when she moves. Her eyes, carefully embroidered in dark thread, seem to take in everything, observing, noticing, appreciating. Look at the light, Mittens says quietly, gesturing with one paw. See how it makes everything glow? It's like the whole city is made of honey and cream. And finally, there is Sunny the duck, the smallest of the group. Her yellow crocheted feathers are bright and cheerful, and on her head sits a light pink bow with white polka dots, carefully tied. Sunny is already yawning, her small beak opening wide. She's always the sleepiest of the group, drifting in and out of gentle rest throughout their adventures. Mmm, Sunny murmurs, rubbing one wing across her eyes. It feels like a good place for napping. Doesn't it feel like a good place for napping? The others smile gently. Sunny is right. Rome does have that quality about it, especially at this hour. As the day softens into evening, it's a city that invites you to slow down, to rest, to simply be present in each moment. They've rented a small apartment for their stay, and according to the address written on Peach's carefully folded piece of paper, it's in the Trastevere neighborhood, a charming area across the Tiber River, known for its narrow cobblestone streets, its ivy-covered buildings, and its peaceful piazzas. Shall we walk? Biscuit suggests. The apartment isn't far, and it would be nice to see the city as we go. The others agree, and so they begin their gentle journey through Rome. They walk slowly. There's no rush after all, pulling their small wheeled suitcases behind them. The wheels click softly against the cobblestones, creating a pleasant, rhythmic sound. Click, 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 a peaceful percussion accompanying their steps. As they walk, Rome reveals itself to them in layers, slowly, generously. They pass through a small piazza where elderly men sit on benches, talking quietly, their hands moving in gentle gestures. A fountain in the center sends up a steady stream of water that falls back into its basin with a soothing splash, splash, splash sound. Pigeons peck at crumbs near the fountain's edge, their heads bobbing up and down in their peculiar pigeon way. They walk down a narrow street where laundry hangs from wrought iron balconies above, white sheets, colorful shirts, striped towels, all swaying slightly in the gentle evening breeze. The buildings here are painted in soft colors, butter yellow, dusty rose, pale terracotta, and many have green shutters that are now open to catch the cooling air. They cross a bridge over the Tiber River, pausing for a moment to look at the water flowing beneath them. The river is a soft green-gray color in the evening light, and it moves steadily, peacefully on its eternal journey. Trees line the riverbanks, their leaves rustling gently. The water sounds nice. Sunny observes drowsily, leaning against the bridge railing, like it's singing a quiet song. And it does sound that way. A gentle, rushing sound, neither loud nor silent, just present. A constant, comforting sound that's been here for thousands of years and will be here for thousands more. As they cross into Trastevere, the streets become even narrower, even more charming. Here, the buildings seem to lean toward each other, as if sharing secrets across the narrow passages. Vines grow up walls and over doorways. Window boxes overflow with bright red geraniums and trailing ivy. Small restaurants are beginning to set out tables for dinner service, placing white tablecloths and simple candles in glass holders. The air is filled with wonderful smells: fresh bread from a bakery, something garlicky and delicious from a restaurant kitchen, the sweet scent of jasmine from a hidden garden, the clean smell of laundry dried in the sun. Finally, after perhaps 20 minutes of pleasant walking, they arrive at their address. A pale yellow building with green shutters and a heavy wooden door painted a faded blue. Peach checks the paper again, then nods. This is it. The door isn't locked. It opens when Biscuit gently pushes. And inside is a small courtyard, cool and shaded, with potted lemon trees and a small fountain trickling water. Across the courtyard, a staircase leads up to the apartments. Their apartment is on the second floor. The key is waiting for them under a flower pot, just as the rental agent had promised. The door opens with a gentle creak, and they step inside. The apartment is small but perfect. The main room has cream-colored walls, exposed wooden beams on the ceiling, and terracotta tile floors that are cool under their feet. There's a comfortable sofa, upholstered in soft linen, a round wooden table with 4 mismatched chairs, and tall windows that open onto a small balcony overlooking the courtyard and the terracotta rooftops beyond. The kitchen is tiny, just a small stove, a sink, a counter barely big enough for 2 people. But it's charming, with blue and white tiles on the wall and a window looking out onto the street below. There are 2 small bedrooms, each with simple beds covered in white linens and soft blankets. Peach and Sunny will share one room, Biscuit and Mittens the other. But the best part, the very best part, is the balcony. They all step out onto it together, and the view takes their breath away. From here, they can see the rooftops of Trastevere spreading out in all directions, a sea of terracotta tiles and weathered chimneys. In the distance, rising above it all, they can see domes and bell towers and the distinctive outline of ancient ruins. The sky is deepening from gold to pink to soft purple, and the first stars are beginning to appear. Oh, Peach breathes. It's perfect. For a long moment, they simply stand there, the 4 of them, watching the light fade and the city settle into evening. Church bells begin to ring somewhere nearby, not loud but gentle, melodic, marking the hour. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Time measured in sound, in tradition, in the slow turning of the world. Finally, as the sky deepens to dusky blue, Biscuit suggests they settle in and perhaps have some dinner. They unpack their small suitcases, hanging their few clothes in the simple wardrobe, arranging their toiletries in the small bathroom, setting out their crochet supplies on the wooden table, hooks and yarn and patterns and small scissors. Then Biscuit goes down to the street and returns with simple provisions from a small market he spotted nearby: a loaf of fresh bread, some cheese, ripe tomatoes, olives, a bottle of olive oil, a small jar of honey, and fresh figs for dessert. Simple food, but somehow in Rome, even the simplest food tastes extraordinary. Prepare their meal together in the tiny kitchen, moving slowly, peacefully. Biscuit slices the bread, thick slices that are crusty on the outside and soft on the inside. Peach arranges the cheese and tomatoes on a plate. Mittens rinses the figs under cool water. Sunny, yawning, sets out plates and napkins. They eat at the wooden table by the open windows, the evening air flowing in, carrying with it the sounds of the city at night: distant music, soft conversations in Italian, the occasional motorcycle passing, the constant, comforting background sound of Rome simply being Rome. The food is delicious in that way that simple food can be when you're hungry and happy and among friends. The bread is perfect, the tomatoes sweet, the cheese creamy and mild. They drizzle olive oil over everything, add a pinch of salt, and it's like tasting sunshine and earth and care all at once. Tomorrow, Peach says as they eat, we should explore properly, see the sights, maybe do some crocheting in a piazza somewhere. That sounds lovely, Mittens agrees, the little bell on her collar tinkling softly as she nods. I want to see the fountains, Sunny says, though her words are interrupted by another yawn. All the pretty fountains. We'll see everything, Biscuit assures them gently. Slowly. There's no rush. We have a whole week here. After dinner, they wash their few dishes in the small sink, then each prepare for bed. The apartment has grown dark except for the soft glow of a lamp by the sofa. And outside, Rome twinkles with 1,000 lights: street lamps, windows, restaurants, the illuminated facades of ancient buildings. They each take turns in the small bathroom, brushing their teeth, washing their faces, changing into their sleep clothes. Then they say good night to each other, Peach and Sunny heading to their room, Biscuit and Mittens to theirs. But before they close their doors, they all meet once more on the balcony for just a moment, drawn by the beauty of the night. The air has cooled, and there's a gentle breeze carrying the scent of jasmine and ancient stone. The stars are bright now, and somewhere in the distance, someone is playing a guitar, the melody soft and slightly melancholy and utterly beautiful. Good night, Rome, Peach whispers. Good night, the others echo. And then they go to their beds, each settling into the cool, clean sheets, their heads sinking into soft pillows. The windows are open, and the sounds of the city drift in like a lullaby. Distant voices, the splash of a fountain, the whisper of leaves in the breeze, the gentle tolling of a church bell marking the late hour. Sunny is asleep almost immediately, her small crocheted form curled into a ball, her polka dot bow slightly askew on her head, her breathing deep and even. Peach lies awake a little longer, looking at the pattern of moonlight on the ceiling, listening to the city, feeling grateful and peaceful, and so very content to be here in this place with these friends. Mittens, in the other room, gazes out the window from her bed, watching the shadows of leaves moving against the wall, the silver bell on her collar catching tiny glints of moonlight. She thinks about the adventure ahead, about all the beautiful things they'll see, about the joy of simply being here. And Biscuit, lying in his bed with his checkered scarf folded carefully on the nightstand beside him, feels the deep satisfaction of a good day gently ended. Tomorrow will bring new wonders, but for now, there is only this: safety, friendship, rest. One by one, they drift into sleep, their breathing becoming slow and synchronized, the four of them peaceful in their separate rooms, but connected by friendship and by dreams. Outside, Rome continues its ancient rhythm, breathing in and out with the night, holding these four small visitors gently in its eternal embrace. The first day is done. The adventure is just beginning. But for now, there is only sleep. Deep, peaceful, restful sleep. The city sleeps, the friends sleep, and all is well. Rest now, dear listener. Tomorrow brings the piazza and the discovery and the gentle beginning of something important. But tonight, only sleep. Chapter 2: The Morning Piazza and Matteo's Worry. Morning arrives softly in Rome, as it always does, with golden light and the sound of bells. The sun rises over the eternal city slowly, painting the sky in shades of peach and gold and the palest blue. Light creeps across the terracotta rooftops, touches the domes of churches, spills down into narrow streets, and finally reaches the windows of the small apartment in Trastevere, where four friends are sleeping. Peach is the first to wake. She opens her eyes slowly, not quite sure where she is for a moment, and then she remembers. Rome. She's in Rome. The realization fills her with quiet joy. She lies still for a moment, listening. Through the open window comes the morning sound of the city. Church bells ringing the hour. 7 o'clock, she thinks. The distant rumble of delivery trucks. The cheerful calls of vendors setting up their market stalls. The cooing of pigeons, the sound of water running from a fountain in a nearby piazza. Beside her, Sunny is still deeply asleep, her small yellow form barely visible under the white sheet, her polka dot bow on the nightstand beside the bed. Peach smiles gently and slips out of bed carefully so as not to wake her friend. She pads across the cool terracotta tiles to the window and looks out. The morning is beautiful, clear and fresh, the air not yet hot, everything washed in soft golden light. She can see into the courtyard below, where the lemon trees are bright with fruit, and beyond that, the rooftops spreading out in all directions. After a few moments of peaceful gazing, Peach goes to the small kitchen and begins to prepare coffee. The apartment has a traditional Italian mocha pot, a simple stovetop espresso maker, and Peach fills the bottom chamber with water, adds ground coffee to the filter basket, and sets it on the small stove. Soon the kitchen is filled with the wonderful smell of brewing coffee, rich and dark and inviting. The sound and smell wake the others. Biscuit emerges from his room first, his checkered scarf already around his neck despite having just woken. His movements are slow and gentle, as they always are in the morning. Good morning, he rumbles softly, his voice still slightly rough with sleep. That coffee smells wonderful. Good morning, Peach replies, keeping her voice quiet. I hope I didn't wake you. No, no, no. I was already stirring. Mittens appears next, the little silver bell on her collar, announcing her approach with soft tinkles. She stretches as she enters the kitchen, her crocheted limbs extending, then relaxing. Mmm, is that coffee? They gather around the small table, and Peach pours the strong, dark coffee into small cups. Biscuit has found some biscotti in the cupboard, left by previous renters, perhaps, and he sets them out on a plate. They dip the hard cookies into their coffee, softening them, and eat them slowly, savoring the simple pleasure of breakfast. Sunny emerges last, shuffling sleepily into the kitchen, with her bow slightly crooked on her head. She's carrying a small blanket wrapped around her shoulders, despite the warming morning. Is it morning already? She asks with a yawn. I feel like I just fell asleep. You did fall asleep quickly, Mittens says, with gentle amusement. You were snoring before Peach even got into bed. Was I? Sunny blinks. I don't remember that at all. She accepts a cup of coffee, though she'll drink only a little. Too much makes her jittery, and nibbles on a biscotto while still wrapped in her blanket. They eat their simple breakfast slowly, in no particular hurry, talking quietly about their plans for the day. They'd like to explore the neighborhood, perhaps visit a few of the famous sites, find a nice piazza where they can sit and crochet for a while in the pleasant morning air. After breakfast, and after everyone has washed up and dressed, Peach in a simple dress with her teal beret positioned carefully on her head, the woven peach on the left side, Biscuit with his checkered scarf arranged just so, Mittens with her collar and bell, Sunny with her bow retied neatly. They prepare to go out. They each bring their small crochet projects. Peach is working on a delicate doily, Biscuit on a simple scarf, Mittens on a small decorative pillow cover, and Sunny on a square that might eventually become part of a blanket. They tuck their supplies into small bags and step out into the Roman morning. The streets of Trastevere are already alive with activity, but it's a gentle, unhurried activity. Shopkeepers are sweeping the sidewalks in front of their stores. An elderly woman is watering the flowers in her window boxes. A man on a bicycle rides slowly past, a loaf of bread sticking out of his basket. Everything moves at a leisurely pace, as if the city understands that there's no need to rush, that good things take time. The friends wander through the narrow streets, taking random turns, not following any map or plan, just letting the city guide them. They pass churches with heavy wooden doors standing open, revealing cool, dim interiors where a few people sit in quiet prayer. They pass small groceries with fruits and vegetables displayed outside, bright oranges, deep red tomatoes, purple eggplants, fresh herbs in pots. They pass cafes where people sit at tiny tables, reading newspapers, talking, watching the world go by. And then, quite unexpectedly, they emerge into a piazza. It's not a grand piazza, not like the famous Piazza Navona or Piazza di Spagna. This is a neighborhood piazza, intimate and charming. It's roughly circular, paved with old stones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Around its perimeter are buildings painted in soft colors: pale yellow, dusty pink, cream. Some have shops on the ground floor, a bakery, a small bookstore, a pottery shop. Others are simply residential, with flower boxes in the windows and laundry hanging from balconies. In the center of the piazza stands a fountain, a simple, ancient thing, just a circular basin with water flowing from the mouth of a carved stone face. The water falls into the basin with a constant musical splashing sound, and the basin itself is dark with age and decorated with a rim of carved acanthus leaves. Around the fountain are benches, and sitting on these benches are a few people: an elderly couple sharing a pastry, a young mother with a baby in a stroller, a man reading a book. But what catches the friends' attention immediately is not the fountain or the benches or even the charming buildings. What they notice is the structure at one end of the piazza, a sort of small stage or platform made of wood with pillars supporting a roof. And stretched between two of these pillars, or rather attempting to be stretched, is a large banner. But the banner is torn, badly torn. Great rips run through the fabric, and pieces of it hang loosely, fluttering in the breeze. The colors, which must have once been vibrant, beautiful, are faded and damaged. You can still make out images woven into the fabric: stars, moons, musical notes, dancing figures, all in gold and silver thread against a background that might once have been deep blue, but is now pale and torn. And standing on the platform, looking up at the ruined banner with an expression of deep sadness, is someone the friends have never seen before. He's a fox, a crocheted fox with soft russet-colored yarn forming his body, darker rust for the tips of his ears and paws. He's about the same size as the friends, perhaps slightly taller, and he's wearing a scarf around his neck in the colors of the Italian flag: green, white, and red, the stripes horizontal. His posture is one of dejection. His shoulders are slumped, his head tilted back to look at the damaged banner, one paw raised as if he'd been reaching toward the banner, but has now let his arm fall in defeat. The friends approach slowly, quietly, not wanting to startle him. Peach speaks first, her voice gentle. "Excuse me, is everything all right?" The fox startles slightly and turns to look at them. His eyes, carefully embroidered in dark thread, are kind but sad. He manages a small smile, though it doesn't quite reach his eyes. "Oh," he says softly. His voice is quiet, thoughtful, with a slight accent that makes his words sound musical. "Hello, I'm sorry, I didn't see you approach. I was..." He gestures helplessly at the torn banner above. "We couldn't help but notice," Biscuit says gently, his deep voice calm and non-intrusive. "Is that... was that banner important?" The fox looks back up at it, and his expression becomes even sadder. "Important? Yes, you could say that. It's everything. At least, it was." I'm Peach, Peach says, introducing herself. And these are my friends, Biscuit, Mittens, and Sunny. We're visiting Rome. Matteo, the fox replies, inclining his head politely. I'm, well, I suppose you could say I'm the keeper of this piazza. I look after it, maintain it, organize the community events here. He pauses, then adds quietly, or at least I used to. There's a heaviness to his words, a weariness that goes beyond physical tiredness. The friends exchange glances, their concern growing. Would you like to tell us about it? Mittens asks softly, her silver bell tinkling gently as she tilts her head. Sometimes talking helps. Matteo is quiet for a long moment, looking at the torn banner, then at the piazza around them, then finally at these four kind strangers who have wandered into his morning and offered such gentle concern. Yes, he says finally. Yes, I think I would like to tell you. Would you? Would you like to sit? There's a cafe just there. He points to one of the shops lining the piazza. We could have coffee and I could explain. If you have time, that is. I know you're visiting. You must have sights to see. We have time, Peach assures him immediately. All the time you need. And so they move to the small cafe, a charming place with just a few tables outside under a striped awning. The owner, who seems to know Matteo well, brings them coffee without being asked, and also a plate of sfogliatelle, a Neapolitan pastry shell-shaped and filled with sweet ricotta. Though this is not Naples, and Matteo explains that the cafe owner's grandmother was from Naples and passed down her recipes. They settle into their chairs, and Matteo cradles his coffee cup in both paws, as if drawing warmth from it despite the morning already growing warm. He's silent for a moment, gathering his thoughts, and the friends wait patiently, not rushing him. Finally, he begins. This piazza, Matteo says softly, gesturing with one paw to encompass the space around them, has been here for, well, no one quite knows how long. Centuries, certainly. It's seen emperors and popes, wars and peace, joy and sorrow, and for as long as anyone can remember, longer probably, this piazza has hosted a special festival every year. He pauses to take a sip of coffee, then continues, his voice taking on a storytelling quality, gentle and rhythmic. The Moonlight Piazza Festival, he says, and even the name sounds magical. It happens once a year, on the night of the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. As the sun sets and the moon rises, the entire community gathers here. Everyone, the people who live in the buildings around the piazza, yes, but also people from the neighboring streets, from across Trastevere, from all over Rome. They come with food to share, with instruments, with laughter and stories. The cafe owners bring out tables and chairs. The bakery provides bread. Someone always brings their accordion, someone else their guitar. Children run around playing while adults talk and eat and drink wine and watch the stars come out. And as the night deepens and the moon climbs higher, we dance right here in the center of the piazza around the fountain. Traditional dances, folk dances, silly made-up dances. Everyone dances. Young and old, good dancers and terrible dancers, it doesn't matter. What matters is the being together, the celebrating life and community, and the simple joy of a summer night. Mateo's expression as he speaks is wistful, full of love for this tradition, but also tinged with that persistent sadness. It sounds beautiful, Peach says softly. It is, Mateo agrees. It's the most beautiful night of the year. At least, it was. Was? Biscuit asks gently. Mateo sets down his coffee cup and looks back at the platform where the torn banner hangs limply. The banner, he says, is part of what makes the festival work. It's not just decoration, though it is beautiful. The banner it's magical. At this word, the four friends lean forward slightly, their attention sharpening. They know about magic. They've encountered it themselves in their adventures. They know it's real. Magical how? Mittens asks. Mateo takes a breath. The banner was made long ago. No one knows exactly when, by a group of weavers and dyers and artists who loved this piazza and wanted to create something that would ensure the community stayed strong, stayed together no matter what challenges came. They wove it with special yarn made from wool blessed by, well, the stories differ on the details. Some say the sheep grazed on a hillside where ancient Romans once held festivals. Others say the yarn was dyed in a spring whose water came from the grotto of a goddess. Still others say it was simply made with so much love and care that the love itself became the magic. Whatever the truth, the banner has properties. When it's hung properly, stretched between those pillars during the festival, it creates a kind of field, an atmosphere within its influence, which covers the whole piazza. People feel safe. They feel connected to each other. Old grievances are forgotten, at least for the night. Shyness falls away. Loneliness dissolves. Everyone becomes part of something larger, something warm and inclusive and joyful. He pauses, looking down at his paws. Without the banner, he continues quietly, the festival is just a gathering. A nice gathering, sure, but not special, not transformative, not magical. And this piazza, it needs that magic. The neighborhood needs it. Rome needs it. In a world that can feel so divided, so hurried, so lonely. One night a year when everyone comes together and feels truly connected. That matters. That matters so much. The friends are silent, absorbing this information. They can feel the weight of it, the importance. Sunny has stopped her usual fidgeting and is watching Mateo with wide, attentive eyes. What happened to it? Peach asks. How did it get so damaged? Mateo sighs. Age, mostly. It's been repaired many times over the years, of course. Little tears mended here, worn spots patched there. But this winter was harsh, harsher than usual. And when we brought the banner out of storage last week to inspect it and begin preparing for this year's festival, we found it had deteriorated badly. The fabric is brittle now. The magical threads degraded, and when we tried to hang it, it simply tore in multiple places, beyond repair. Can't it be fixed? Biscuit asks. Not with ordinary mending, Mateo says, shaking his head. We tried, but the magic is gone from those sections. Sewing them back together creates a banner that looks whole, perhaps, but doesn't function. The magic is woven into the very structure of it, into the yarns themselves, into how they're combined, into the intention and care of the making. To restore the banner's power, we would need to recreate it, reweave it entirely. Then that's what you should do, Sunny says, her voice still sleepy but certain. Make a new one. Mateo looks at her with sad fondness. If only it were that simple, little one. To recreate the banner, we would need the same kind of yarn the original was made from. And that yarn, it doesn't exist anymore. The sheep that provided it are gone. That breed died out centuries ago. The springs and hillsides and methods used to prepare it are lost to time. Modern yarn, even the finest quality, doesn't hold magic the same way. We've tried. The town's best crafters have tried. It simply doesn't work. He spreads his paws in a gesture of helplessness. So, you see, he says quietly, the festival cannot happen this year, perhaps not ever again. In 3 weeks, the summer solstice will come and go, and for the first time in maybe 1,000 years, this piazza will be dark and quiet that night. No gathering, no music, no dancing, no magic, just absence, loss. The silence that follows is heavy, sad. The four friends can feel Mateo's grief, and beyond that, they can imagine the grief of the entire community. The disappointment of children who've been looking forward to the festival. The sadness of elderly residents who've attended every year of their long lives. The loss of something that held people together. It's Peach who breaks the silence, her voice thoughtful. Mateo, she says slowly, what if we could help? Mateo looks up at her, surprise and confusion in his embroidered eyes. Help? How could you? You're visitors. You don't even live here. We're crafters, Peach interrupts gently. Crocheters specifically. We've worked with many kinds of yarn, traveled to many places, and she glances at her friends who nod encouragingly. We've encountered magic before. We know how to recognize it, how to work with it. We helped a friend once, Biscuit adds, his deep voice reassuring. Made something special for him, something that required finding magical yarn from different places and working with care and intention. Mittens's bell tinkles as she nods eagerly. If there's yarn somewhere that could work, yarn with magic in it, we could help you find it and use it to recreate the banner. Mateo stares at them, hope beginning to kindle in his expression, but tempered by caution, by the fear of disappointment. I don't know, he says slowly. The yarn would need to be, it would need to be strong, strong enough to last for years. And it would need to have been made with joy, with community, with care. And ideally, it should have some connection to the sea, to water, to the old ways. He trails off, shaking his head. I'm describing something that probably doesn't exist. Or, Peach says softly, you're describing something we can find if we search, if we ask the right questions, if we're willing to travel a bit. Sunny, who has been quiet, suddenly perks up. We're good at finding things, she says with certainty. We found magical yarn in Paris once, 5 different kinds, from 5 different special places, and we made something wonderful with it. We can do it again. Mateo looks at each of them in turn, at Peach with her teal beret and woven peach, at Biscuit with his checkered scarf, at Mittens with her silver bell, at Sunny with her polka dot bow. 4 small visitors from somewhere else, strangers really, offering to help with a problem that isn't theirs, to save a tradition they've never experienced. Why would you do this? He asks quietly. You don't know me. You don't know this community. This isn't your home. Peach reaches across the table and gently places her crocheted paw on top of Mateo's. Because, she says simply, it matters. Because community matters. Because traditions that bring people together and remind them they're not alone. Those things are important, no matter where they are. And because, she smiles, we're here. And sometimes being in the right place at the right time means you're meant to help. Mateo is quiet for a long moment. Then slowly, he nods. All right, he says, his voice rough with emotion. All right, if you're willing, if you truly want to help, then yes. Yes, please. Help me save the festival. Help me recreate the banner. Help me bring magic back to this piazza. The friends smile, gentle, warm smiles, full of determination and kindness. We will, Biscuit promises. We absolutely will. And sitting there in that small cafe, in that ancient piazza, in the heart of Trastevere, as the Roman morning grows warmer and brighter around them, a new quest begins, not grand or dramatic, but important nonetheless. A quest to restore something beautiful, to preserve something meaningful, to ensure that magic and community and connection continue. The friends don't know yet where their search will take them, what challenges they'll face, what discoveries they'll make, but they know they'll face them together, with patience and care and the steady determination that has carried them through adventures before. For now, though, they simply sit with Mateo, finishing their coffee, eating their pastries, beginning to plan. And overhead, the torn banner flutters in the breeze, damaged but not destroyed, waiting, waiting for new thread, new hands, new magic to make it whole again. Rest now, dear listener. The quest has begun, but it will be a gentle quest, a patient quest. There is no rush. All will unfold in its own time, peacefully, carefully, step by step. Chapter 3. Learning about the yarn and planning the journey. Sometimes the most important work begins not with action, but with questions. After their conversation at the cafe, Mateo invites the friends back to his home, a small apartment on the ground floor of one of the buildings facing the piazza. The apartment is cozy, and lived in, filled with books and plants and the comfortable clutter of a life well lived. They settle around a large wooden table that dominates the main room, and Mateo brings out an old leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age, its cover worn soft from many handlings. This, Mateo says, placing it carefully on the table, is the keeper's journal. Every person who has served as keeper of the piazza has added to it notes about the festival, about the community, about the banner. It goes back, well, quite far. He opens it carefully, paging through slowly. The friends can see different handwritings, different languages even, Latin, Italian, sometimes drawings and diagrams. The paper itself varies from thick parchment to thin modern pages. Here, Mateo says, finding the section he's looking for. This is from about 200 years ago, when the banner was last completely remade. The keeper at that time, Francesco was his name, wrote down everything he learned about the original banner's creation, hoping the information might be useful someday. He reads aloud, translating from the old Italian as he goes. The banner that brings unity to our piazza was made with yarn of particular properties. It must be strong, for it must endure. It must be made with joy, for joy is the essence of gathering. It must carry the blessing of water, for water connects all life. And it must be woven by hands that work together, not alone. For the banner's purpose is to unite, and what unites others must itself be born of unity. Mateo looks up. That's the basic requirement. But Francesco also noted something else, something he learned from old stories. He continues reading. The yarn that holds the most powerful magic is that which is spun near the sea, where salt and sun and the endless rhythm of waves infuse the fiber with resilience and peace. The makers should be joyful, and their work should be witnessed by the lemon groves, for the lemon is the fruit of southern warmth and generosity. Lemons, Sunny murmurs sleepily, then smiles. I like lemons. The sea, Mittens says thoughtfully, her bell tinkling as she tilts her head. That means we'd need to go somewhere coastal. And not just any coast, Mateo adds. The description suggests somewhere south of here, where lemons grow, where there's a tradition of textile work. He looks at them hopefully. Do you know of such a place? Peach thinks for a moment, her paw absently touching the woven peach on her beret. What about Capri or Positano, somewhere on the Amalfi Coast, or Naples? Naples, Biscuit says slowly, his deep voice thoughtful. Naples would make sense. It's a city with a long textile tradition, and from Naples you can reach Capri easily. Mateo's eyes light up. Yes, yes, that's perfect. There are still artisan yarn makers in Naples. I've heard of them, though I've never visited. And Capri, he pauses, consulting the journal again. Francesco actually mentions Capri specifically. Look, the island of the sirens holds the secret of the strongest thread. Capri was called the Island of Sirens in ancient times. The friends exchange excited glances. This is starting to feel real, possible. So we go to Naples, Peach says, making it a statement rather than a question. We find artisan yarn makers, we learn from them, and possibly we visit Capri as well. When? Sunny asks. How soon? Matteo looks at them almost shyly. The festival is in 3 weeks, the solstice. We would need time to actually weave the banner after obtaining the yarn, so ideally, we'd need the yarn within 2 weeks, maybe less. That doesn't give us much time for exploring Rome, Mittens observes. But she doesn't sound disappointed, more like she's simply noting a fact. The banner is more important, Peach says firmly. We can see Rome anytime. This is time sensitive. Biscuit nods his agreement. When should we leave? Tomorrow, Matteo suggests hesitantly. Is that too soon? I don't want to rush you. Tomorrow is perfect, Peach assures him. That gives us today to prepare, to learn more about what we need. And tomorrow morning, we can take the train to Naples. They spend the rest of the morning and into the afternoon in Matteo's apartment, poring over the journal, making notes, discussing possibilities. Matteo makes them a simple lunch, pasta with olive oil and garlic, a salad of tomatoes and basil, bread, cheese. They eat at the big table surrounded by papers and books, talking between bites about yarn properties and weaving techniques and the magic of intention. What they learn is this: the yarn must be strong, ideally wool or a wool blend, thick enough to provide structure but soft enough to be workable. It should be naturally colored if possible, though dye made from natural sources, plants, minerals, is acceptable. Most importantly, it must be made with care and positive intention. Hurried work, angry work, work done purely for profit. These energies can be felt in the finished product and will not hold the kind of magic needed. The actual weaving of the banner will be done here, in Rome, by Matteo and several members of the community who know the traditional patterns. But they need approximately 10 skeins of this special yarn, enough to recreate the banner to its original size. 10 skeins, Biscuit repeats, writing it down. Made near the sea, with joy, blessed by lemon groves. It sounds like a recipe for a spell, Mittens says, and her tone is not skeptical. She knows magic is real. She's simply noting the similarity. Maybe it is a spell, Matteo says quietly. Maybe all making is a kind of spell. We take raw materials and transform them, imbuing them with purpose and power. The question is whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, with care or without. It's a profound thought, and they all sit with it for a moment in comfortable silence. As the afternoon wanes toward evening, the friends excuse themselves to return to their own apartment. They need to prepare for tomorrow's journey, to pack, to rest. Matteo walks them to his door, and before they leave, he takes something from a hook by the entrance, a small bag woven from sturdy canvas, dyed a deep blue. Take this, he says, offering it to Peach. You'll need something to carry the yarn in once you find it. This bag was made by my grandmother. It's strong and... He smiles slightly. She was a good person. Maybe her goodness is still in it somehow. Peach accepts it carefully, touched. Thank you, Mateo. We'll take good care of it. I know you will. He pauses, then adds, thank you, truly, for helping, for caring. I know I keep saying it, but it means everything. We're happy to help, Sunny says, and even though she's been yawning on and off all afternoon, her sincerity is clear. They walk back to their apartment through the late afternoon streets of Trastevere. The light is golden again, as it was the previous evening, and the neighborhood is settling into that peaceful pre-dinner hour when people are returning home from work, when shops are beginning to close, when the day takes a breath before transitioning into evening. Back in their apartment, they begin to prepare for the journey. They don't need to pack much. They'll only be gone a few days, hopefully. Changes of clothes, toiletries, their crochet supplies, always their crochet supplies. You never know when you might have a quiet moment to work on a project. And of course, Mateo's blue canvas bag, folded carefully and placed in Peach's backpack. As they pack, they talk quietly about the journey ahead. Naples is about 2 hours from Rome by train. They'll spend at least a day there, maybe two, searching for the right yarn maker. If they need to go to Capri, that's a ferry ride from Naples. Beautiful, they've heard, but adding another half day to their travels. Have any of you been to Naples? Biscuit asks. They all shake their heads. None of them have. It will be a new adventure, a new city to discover. I've heard the pizza is incredible, Mittens says, her silver bell tinkling with her enthusiasm. The best in Italy, maybe in the world. And the coffee, Biscuit adds. Espresso was basically invented there or perfected there, something like that. And sfogliatella, Sunny says dreamily, remembering the pastry from that morning's cafe. The cafe owner said it comes from Naples originally. They finish packing as the sun sets, then prepare a simple dinner in their little kitchen. Leftovers from lunch, some fruit, bread. They eat on their balcony, watching the evening settle over the rooftops, listening to the sound of Rome winding down for the night. Tomorrow we'll be in a different city, Peach muses, looking out at the view, but doing the same thing, helping, creating, working towards something good. That's what we do, Biscuit says simply, wherever we go. After dinner, they clean up their few dishes, then settle in for the night. Tomorrow will bring an early start. They want to catch a morning train to give themselves a full day in Naples. One by one, they prepare for bed, moving through their evening routines in the small bathroom, changing into comfortable sleep clothes. Sunny is already yawning continuously, her energy depleted by the day's activities and planning. They gather briefly on the balcony one more time, as they did the night before, drawn by the beauty of the Roman night. The air is warm and gentle, carrying the scent of jasmine. Stars are appearing in the deepening blue above. Somewhere in the distance, church bells mark the hour. Good night, Rome, Peach says softly. We'll see you in a few days. With magic yarn, Mittens adds, her voice hopeful. With magic yarn, the others agree. They go to their separate rooms, each settling into bed with the comfortable familiarity of their sleeping spaces. The windows are open, and the sounds of the city drift in Quieter now as the night deepens, more peaceful, more restful. Sunny is asleep within minutes, her small form curled up tight, her polka dot bow on the nightstand catching faint gleams of moonlight. Peach lies awake a bit longer, thinking about tomorrow's journey, about Naples and Capri and magical yarn and festivals under moonlight. She feels a sense of purpose, of rightness. They're meant to do this, she thinks. They're meant to help Matteo and his community. Everything has led them here, to this moment, to this quest. In the other room, Mittens gazes out the window from her bed, watching the stars appear one by one in the dark sky. She thinks about the yarn they'll find. She pictures it in her mind, soft and strong and beautiful, woven with joy and salt air and ancient magic. They'll find it. She's certain of that. And they'll bring it back, and the banner will be made, and the festival will happen. Hope feels strong in her chest. Biscuit, lying in his bed with his checkered scarf folded on the nightstand, feels the deep satisfaction of having a clear purpose. Tomorrow they'll take a train to Naples. They'll search. They'll find what's needed, and then they'll return and help create something beautiful, simple, clear, good. One by one, they drift into sleep, their breathing slowing and deepening, their crocheted forms relaxing completely, trusting in the safety of the apartment, the warmth of their friendship, the promise of tomorrow. Outside, Rome sleeps its ancient sleep, breathing slowly in the darkness, dreaming its endless dreams of all the people who have walked its streets, all the stories that have unfolded within its walls, all the magic, big and small, that has been made here across millennia. The friends sleep deeply, restfully, gathering their strength for tomorrow's journey. And across the city, in his small apartment by the piazza, Matteo also sleeps. But for the first time in weeks, his sleep is peaceful rather than troubled. Because there is hope now. 4 small visitors have brought hope. And sometimes, hope is its own kind of magic. Rest now, dear listener. Tomorrow brings the train, and Naples, and the first steps toward finding what is needed. But tonight, only sleep. Deep, restful, healing sleep. Chapter 4. The Train to Naples and the City of Pizza. A journey begins not with arrival, but with the gentle motion of departure. Morning comes early to the apartment in Trastevere. The sun hasn't yet cleared the buildings when Peach wakes, but the sky is already light, painted in soft shades of gray-blue and pale pink. She can hear birds singing their dawn chorus, sparrows and starlings, their voices cheerful and insistent. She rises quietly, not wanting to wake Sunny just yet, and goes to the kitchen. The morning routine of making coffee has become comforting in its brief familiarity, filling the mocha pot with water, adding coffee to the filter, setting it on the stove. Soon the rich smell of brewing coffee fills the small apartment. The others wake in turn, drawn by the smell and the gentle sounds of morning. They gather in the kitchen, still slightly drowsy, moving slowly through the early hour. They eat a simple breakfast, Yesterday's bread with jam, the last of the figs, coffee in small cups that they drink standing by the counter. By 6:30, they're ready to leave. They've packed their small bags, tidied the apartment, left a note for the owner. They'll be back in a few days, and don their traveling accessories. Peach with her teal beret positioned carefully, the woven peach on the left side, Biscuit with his cream and red checkered scarf, Mittens with her cream collar and its tiny silver bell, Sunny with her light pink polka dot bow, slightly crooked as always in the early morning. They make one quick stop before heading to the train station, Mateo's apartment. He's awake and waiting for them, looking more rested than he did yesterday, but still carrying that undercurrent of worry. You didn't have to come see us off, Peach says gently as Mateo walks them to the edge of the piazza. I wanted to, Mateo replies. I wanted to thank you again, and to wish you luck, and to... He pauses, looking somewhat embarrassed, then pulls 4 small objects from his pocket. To give you these. He holds out 4 small coins, ancient-looking, greenish with patina. These are old Roman coins, replicas, not actual antiques, but they're traditional good luck charms for travelers from Rome. 1 for each of you. The friends each accept a coin, charmed by the gesture. The coins are small and pleasant to hold, the embossed images on them worn smooth. Thank you, Biscuit says warmly. We'll keep them safe. And we'll be back soon, Mittens adds, her bell tinkling as she tucks her coin carefully into her small bag. With the yarn. With the yarn, Mateo echoes, hope evident in his voice. They say their goodbyes, not drawn out or emotional, just simple, warm farewells. And then the 4 friends set off through the quiet morning streets toward the train station. The walk to Termini Station takes perhaps 20 minutes. The city is just waking. Shopkeepers raising their metal shutters, sanitation workers making their rounds, early commuters hurrying toward buses and metro stops. The air is still relatively cool, pleasant for walking, and the light is soft and beautiful. They arrive at Termini Station just before 7. The station is large and busy even at this hour, a massive modern structure of glass and steel, filled with the constant flow of people, the announcements echoing from loudspeakers, the electronic displays showing arrivals and departures. They find their platform and board their train, the 7:15 to Napoli Centrale. The train is clean and modern, with comfortable seats and large windows. They find an empty compartment and settle in, stowing their bags overhead, arranging themselves on the facing. Seats, Peach and Sunny on one side, Biscuit and Mittens on the other. The train departs exactly on time, gliding smoothly out of the station and into the outskirts of Rome. For a while, they watch the city pass by the windows. Apartment buildings, graffitied walls, industrial areas, and then gradually the urban landscape giving way to countryside. As the train picks up speed and the scenery becomes rolling hills dotted with farms and old stone houses, the rocking motion and the soft sound of the wheels on tracks start to have their predictable effect on Sunny. Her eyes begin to droop. She tries to keep them open, wanting to see the countryside, but her head nods forward, jerks back up. nods forward again. Just rest, Peach says gently, and Sunny doesn't argue. She curls up on the seat, her head against Peach's side, her polka dot bow slightly askew, and within moments, she's deeply asleep, her breathing slow and even. Peach strokes Sunny's back gently, rhythmically, while gazing out the window. The Italian countryside rolls past, vineyards beginning to show the green of new growth, olive groves with their silvery green leaves, fields of poppies adding splashes of red to the landscape, old farmhouses with terracotta roofs, the occasional medieval town perched on a hilltop in the distance. The train follows the coast for a while, and they catch glimpses of the Tyrrhenian Sea, deep blue and sparkling in the morning sun, stretching away toward the horizon. Seabirds wheel and cry above the waves. Small beaches appear and disappear as the train speeds past. It's beautiful, Mittens murmurs, her nose nearly pressed to the window glass, her silver bell catching tiny glints of sunlight filtering through the train window. It is, Biscuit agrees. He has a guidebook open on his lap reading about Naples, occasionally sharing interesting facts with the others. Naples is the third largest city in Italy. It's incredibly old, founded by the ancient Greeks. The historic center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the pizza, he pauses to read more. Pizza as we know it was basically invented in Naples. Specifically, pizza margherita was created there in 1889. We have to try it, Mitten says decisively. If we're in the birthplace of pizza, we absolutely have to try authentic Neapolitan pizza. Agreed, Peach says with a smile. Time passes gently on the train. They talk quietly when they feel like talking, fall silent when they feel like silence. The rhythm of the train is soothing, the rocking motion, the soft, steady sound of wheels on rails, the way the scenery flows past like a moving painting. Other passengers are in the train car, a few business people working on laptops, a family with small children, an elderly couple holding hands and gazing out the window, two young backpackers asleep with their heads tilted together. But everyone is quiet, respecting the morning peacefulness. After about an hour and a half, the landscape begins to change again. They're approaching Naples now, the hills becoming more urban, buildings increasing in density, the glimpses of sea becoming more frequent. And then, through the windows on the left side of the train, they see it, Vesuvius. The volcano rises up against the sky, its slopes surprisingly green with vegetation, its peak slightly flattened. Even from a distance, even dormant as it has been for decades, it has a presence, a power. That's Vesuvius, Biscuit says quietly, and they all turn to look. Even Sunny, who has just woken from her nap, presses against the window to see. It's bigger than I expected, Mitten says. The train continues, and Vesuvius looms larger, and then they're passing through the outskirts of Naples. Industrial areas first, then residential neighborhoods with tall apartment buildings, laundry hanging from every balcony, narrow streets packed with parked cars and motor scooters. The train begins to slow as it approaches the city center. Through the windows, they can see Naples beginning to reveal itself, chaotic, vibrant, alive. Buildings are close together, painted in faded yellows and oranges and pinks. Streets are crowded even at mid-morning. There's graffiti on many walls, but also beautiful street art, murals depicting saints and footballers, and abstract designs. The train glides into Napoli Centrale station, slowing, and finally coming to a smooth stop. The announcement comes over the speaker, Napoli Centrale, Napoli Centrale, and passengers begin gathering their belongings. The friends collect their bags, make sure they have everything, and step off the train onto the platform. And immediately, they're struck by the difference between Rome and Naples. Where Rome felt ancient and serene, Naples feels alive and immediate. The station is loud, people calling to each other, vendors selling snacks and newspapers, announcements in rapid Italian echoing off the high ceilings. The air feels warmer, more humid, carrying scents of coffee and fried food and the salt tang of the nearby sea. They follow the flow of people through the station and out into the city proper. And if the station felt vibrant, the streets are even more so. Naples is busy, delightfully, overwhelmingly, charmingly busy. Motor scooters zip past, weaving between cars and pedestrians with what seems like impossible confidence. Street vendors call out their wares, produce, flowers, clothing, electronics. People are everywhere, walking, talking, gesturing with their hands in that animated Italian way, calling to friends across streets, leaning out of windows to shout down to people below. Buildings rise up on either side, tall, close together, their facades faded and weathered, but somehow beautiful for it. Laundry hangs from nearly every balcony, bright colors against the old stone. Shop fronts spill out onto sidewalks, displays of vegetables and fruit, racks of clothing, tables of books. And everywhere there are smells. Coffee, absolutely, wafting from every cafe, but also baking bread, simmering tomato sauce, frying pizza dough, fresh seafood from the market, flowers from the vendors, and underneath it all, that indefinable city smell of life being lived intensely. The friends stand for a moment just outside the station, slightly overwhelmed, but also delighted. Naples is so different from Rome, less polished, less touristy, but somehow more alive, more real. So, Mittens says, raising her voice slightly to be heard over the street sounds, where do we start? Peach pulls out a small notebook where she'd written down some information from Matteo's research. He mentioned that there are traditional textile workshops in the Spanish Quarter, Quartieri Spagnoli. That's where we should go first, probably. Ask around, see who's still making yarn the traditional way. And then pizza, Sunny adds, her stomach already rumbling. We definitely need pizza. Biscuit consults a map on his phone. The Spanish Quarter is walkable from here. Maybe 20 minutes. Shall we? They set off into Naples, and it's immediately an adventure. The sidewalks are narrow and crowded, so they walk single file. Biscuit leading, he's the biggest and easiest to follow. Then Peach, then Mittens, then Sunny bringing up the rear, trying not to get distracted by every interesting thing they pass, which is difficult because everything is interesting. They navigate through streets that seem to have been designed for a different era. narrow, winding, made for people and horses and carts, not for modern cars and scooters. Yet somehow, the modern vehicles manage anyway, squeezing through impossibly tight spaces, honking cheerfully, stopping to chat with friends while blocking traffic. They pass churches. Naples has hundreds of them, Biscuit's guidebook says, with ornate Baroque facades, their doors open to reveal dark, cool interiors where candles flicker and incense drifts. They pass shrines built into walls, little alcoves containing statues of saints or the Virgin Mary, decorated with flowers and candles and photos and handwritten prayers, these small sacred spaces existing right alongside the bustle of daily life. They pass pizzerias with wood-fired ovens visible from the street, the fires burning hot, the pizzas going in on long wooden paddles and coming out with bubbled, slightly charred crusts and simple toppings. Tomato sauce, fresh mozzarella, basil leaves. The smell is incredible, and they all agree they absolutely must return for lunch. After about 25 minutes of walking, they got slightly turned around once, but a kind elderly woman gave them directions, speaking entirely in rapid Neapolitan dialect supplemented with emphatic gestures. They arrive at the Spanish Quarter. The Spanish Quarter is atmospheric. It's one of the oldest parts of Naples, and it feels like stepping back in time. The streets here are even narrower, some barely wide enough for two people to pass each other. Buildings rise up steeply on either side, creating canyons of stone and plaster. Laundry hangs overhead, crisscrossing from building to building, creating canopies of sheets and clothing. The light that filters down to street level is soft, diffused, slightly golden. And despite, or perhaps because of, the poverty that has historically marked this neighborhood, there's a strong sense of community here. People sit outside their doors on chairs, talking with neighbors. Children play in the streets, their voices echoing off the close walls. Murals cover many surfaces, some religious, some political, some simply beautiful abstract art. The friends walk slowly, respectfully, looking for any sign of textile workshops. Peach is checking door signs, Mittens is peering into windows. Biscuit is asking the occasional passerby, in his limited Italian supplemented with gestures, if they know of anyone who makes yarn. It's Sunny, drowsy but observant, who spots it first. Look, she says, pointing down a particularly narrow alley. There. Halfway down the alley, a small sign hangs from a wrought iron bracket. The sign is hand-painted, faded, but still legible. Filati tradizionali, traditional threads, and below that, Maria Rosa, tessitrice, Maria Rosa, weaver. That's it, Peach says with certainty. That must be it. They walk down the alley, which is so narrow their shoulders nearly brush the buildings on either side. The cobblestones underfoot are worn smooth and slightly uneven. The light is dim, filtered through the laundry hanging high overhead. The shop, when they reach it, has a door that stands partly open. Through the doorway, they can see a small space Barely a shop, really, more of a ground floor room in someone's home that opens to the street. Inside are shelves holding skeins of yarn in various colors, and at the back of the room, visible through an interior doorway, they can see what looks like a workshop, a spinning wheel, baskets of raw wool, spools of different colored threads. They hesitate at the threshold, not wanting to intrude. But before they can knock or call out, a voice comes from inside. Avanti, come in, don't just stand there letting the heat in. The voice is warm, slightly raspy, accented heavily. The voice of someone older, someone who has lived and laughed and worked hard for many years. The friends enter the small shop, and as their eyes adjust to the dimmer interior, they see her, the owner of the voice. She's a plump woman, probably in her 70s, with gray hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing a simple cotton dress and an apron covered in bits of thread and fluff. Her hands are large and capable, the hands of someone who has spent a lifetime working with fiber and yarn. Her face is lined but beautiful, with bright dark eyes that miss nothing, and a wide, welcoming smile. Well, well, she says, switching to accented but perfectly understandable English. Visitors, and such interesting visitors. Tell me, little ones, what brings you to Maria Rosa's humble shop? She's looking at them with genuine curiosity and warmth, not at all surprised to see four small crocheted animals walk into her store. Naples, it seems, takes such things in stride. Peach steps forward, unconsciously reaching up to straighten her teal beret. Signora Maria Rosa, she begins politely, we've come from Rome, and we're looking for someone who can help us with a very special project. We need yarn, magical yarn, made the traditional way, with joy and care. And we were told that if anyone in Naples would know where to find such a thing, it would be you. Maria Rosa's eyes light up, and her smile grows even wider. Magical yarn, she repeats, her voice delighted, made with joy and care. Oh, my dears, you have absolutely come to the right place. Come further in. Let me make you espresso, and you'll tell me everything. Where you're from, what you need, why you need it. And then, she winks, then Maria Rosa will tell you exactly where to find what you're looking for. She ushers them into the back workshop, still talking a cheerful stream, already putting a mocha pot on a small burner, pulling out tiny espresso cups, cutting slices from a tall cake, baba, she calls it, soaked in rum, and gesturing for them to sit on stools and mismatched chairs around a work table covered in yarn and tools. And as they settle in, as the smell of espresso begins to fill the small workshop, as Maria Rosa puts the cake slices on plates and sets them before her visitors, the friends exchange glances of hope and relief. They've found the right person. They can feel it. Maria Rosa will help them. The quest is moving forward, step by gentle step, just as it should. Rest now, dear listener. The yarn is close. The path is clear. But there is still a journey to make, still knowledge to gain, still magic to discover. All in good time, all in its own perfect rhythm. Chapter 5. Pizza sfogliatella, and the stretch stitch. In Naples, even the simplest things become extraordinary. Maria Rosa's workshop is warm and inviting, filled with the soft smell of wool and cotton, the sweet smell of rum-soaked cake, and now the rich, intense smell of brewing espresso. The friends settle onto their seats, mismatched stools and chairs gathered around a large wooden work table, while Maria Rosa moves about with practiced efficiency, preparing their coffee. The workshop itself is fascinating. Every surface holds something related to textile work. There are baskets of raw wool in various natural shades: cream, gray, brown, even black. There are spindles and spinning wheels, both modern and antique. There are skeins of finished yarn in every color imaginable, some dyed with natural dyes. She points these out proudly: indigo blue, madder red, welled yellow. Others in the bright synthetic colors that modern crafters often prefer. The walls are covered with old photographs showing women spinning, weaving, working together in what looks like a communal space. My grandmother, Maria Rosa says, noticing them looking at the photos. And her friends. This was back when every woman in Naples knew how to spin, how to weave. Now, she shrugs philosophically. Now most people buy their yarn from factories, which is fine, fine, but something is lost, I think. The connection, the care, the, how do you say, the soul in the fiber. She pours espresso into tiny cups. The coffee is thick, dark, almost syrupy, and sets them before each friend along with the slices of baba, the rum cake that's a Neapolitan specialty. The cake is golden, soaked through with sweet rum syrup, incredibly moist. Now, Maria Rosa says, settling into her own chair with a grunt of satisfaction. Tell me, this magical yarn you need. Tell me everything. And so they do. Peach explains about Matteo, about the torn festival banner, about the Moonlight Piazza Festival that brings community together once a year. Biscuit describes what they learned from the keeper's journal, that the yarn must be strong, made near the sea, blessed by lemon groves, created with joy. Mittens adds details about the weaving technique, the patterns that need to be recreated, and Sunny, between bites of the delicious cake, emphasizes how important it is, how much it matters to Matteo and to his whole community. Maria Rosa listens intently, her bright dark eyes moving from speaker to speaker, her expression growing more serious, more thoughtful as the story unfolds. When they finish, she's quiet for a long moment, her worn hands wrapped around her tiny espresso cup. The banner of unity, she finally says, her voice soft, almost reverent. I have heard of such things. My grandmother spoke of them. In the old days, many communities had them, objects made with such care and intention that they became more than objects. They became holders of community spirit, of connection. Most are lost now, forgotten or destroyed or simply worn away by time. That yours still exists, still functions or did function, that's precious, that's rare. She sets down her cup and looks at each of them in turn. You were right to come here, she says, and I can help you. But first, you need to understand something. The yarn you need, I cannot make it for you. I could spin you the finest yarn in Italy. Beautiful yarn, strong yarn, but it wouldn't have what you need. Do you know why? The friends shake their heads, listening carefully. Because, Maria Rosa continues, the magic isn't in the spinning itself, it's in the spinner, or rather, in the spinner's state of mind, of heart, to make yarn that holds joy, that can unite people, that can create the atmosphere you describe. The person making it must be joyful, truly joyful, not just happy in that moment, but fundamentally joyful. Someone who loves what they do, who finds pleasure in the work itself, who approaches each day with gratitude and warmth. She pauses, reaching for a half-finished sock sitting on the table, picking up her knitting needles and working a few stitches as she talks, her hands moving automatically, not needing her eyes to guide them. I was joyful once, she says, matter-of-factly, not sadly, just stating a truth. When I was younger, when my husband was alive, when my children were small, when the neighborhood was full of life and music. But I'm old now, tired, still happy, yes, but it's a different happiness, a quieter one. The yarn I make now is good, but it wouldn't work for your banner. Then, Peach begins, confusion and disappointment starting to creep into her voice. Then why did you say you could help? Maria Rosa smiles, that wide, warm smile. Because I know someone, someone perfect, someone who spins the most beautiful yarn you've ever seen, who does it with such love, such joy, that every skein practically glows with it. Someone who lives by the sea, surrounded by lemon groves, who learned the old ways from her grandmother, just as I did. Who? Mittens asks, her silver bell tinkling with her eagerness. Her name is Julia, Maria Rosa says. She runs a small yarn shop on Capri. You know Capri, the island? The friends nod. They've heard of it. A famous island in the Bay of Naples. Beautiful, exclusive, expensive. Julia is special, Maria Rosa continues, her voice taking on an affectionate tone. She's younger than me, maybe mid-30s, a white goat with the most beautiful brown cat eye glasses, very stylish, very, how do you say, vibrant. She inherited the shop from her grandmother, but she's made it her own. She uses only natural fibers, natural dyes. She spins by the sea, literally. Her shop has a terrace overlooking the water, and she's always laughing, always singing while she works. The locals call her Giulia del Sole, Julia of the Sun, because her presence is like sunshine. Maria Rosa sets down her knitting and reaches for a notepad, writing something down. Here, she says, tearing off the page and handing it to Peach. The address of her shop. It's in Capri, the upper part of the island, quieter than the main town. You'll find her there. Tell her Maria Rosa sent you. Tell her what you need. She'll help. I'm certain of it. Peach accepts the paper carefully, folding it and tucking it into her bag. Thank you, she says sincerely. Thank you so much. But, Maria Rosa continues, holding up one finger, before you go to Capri, which you should do tomorrow, take the morning ferry. There's something I need to teach you, a technique. You said the banner needs to be not just strong, but also flexible, yes? Able to move in the wind without tearing? They nod. Then you need to know the stretch stitch, Maria Rosa says, and her eyes twinkle. This is a Neapolitan specialty. We invented it, or maybe we learned it from the Greeks who lived here before us. Who knows? But it's ours now, and it's perfect for what you need. She reaches for a ball of yarn and a crochet hook from the table. The stretch stitch, she explains, beginning to demonstrate, is inspired by pizza dough. You know how we stretch pizza dough here in Naples? Not rolled with a rolling pin? No, no, no. We stretch it by hand, gently, turning it, pulling it, letting gravity help. We work with the dough, not against it. The stretch stitch works the same way. Her hands begin to move, creating a foundation chain, then working a stitch that's unlike the standard single crochet or double crochet the friends are familiar with. It's more complex, creating a fabric that has visible stretch to it, that can expand and contract without distorting. You see, Maria Rosa says, holding up her work. This is what you want for your banner. Strong but flexible. It can move, breathe, flow. Just like pizza dough becomes a pizza that's both sturdy enough to hold toppings but soft enough to fold, this stitch creates fabric that's both strong and forgiving. She hands the sample to them, and they pass it around, feeling it, examining the stitches, marveling at the texture. Can you teach us? Biscuit asks. How to do it? Of course, Maria Rosa says. That's why you're here. Sit. Everyone take yarn and a hook. We'll practice for a bit. It's not hard, but it takes a little getting used to. Different from what you probably know. And so, they spend the next hour learning the stretch stitch from Maria Rosa. She's a patient teacher correcting their hand positions gently, showing them again and again how to wrap the yarn, where to insert the hook, how to pull through. At first, their attempts are clumsy, uneven, but gradually, with practice and repetition, they begin to get it. Their stitches become more uniform, more confident. Sunny struggles the most. Her small wings aren't as dexterous as the other's paws, but Maria Rosa adapts, showing her a slightly different way to hold the hook that works better for her anatomy. And soon, Sunny is creating the stretch stitch too. Her face scrunched in concentration, her polka dot bow slightly askew. Good, good, Maria Rosa encourages them. You're naturals. By the time you return from Capri with Julia's yarn, you'll be ready to help weave the banner. This stitch is what will make it work, what will make it last. As they practice, Maria Rosa keeps them company, chatting about Naples, about the neighborhood, about textile traditions. She tells them stories of her grandmother, who could spin wool so fine it was almost transparent, who knew every natural dye and where to source it, who could weave patterns so intricate they looked like paintings. Time passes gently in the warm workshop. The light from the small window shifts as the sun moves across the sky. The sounds of the neighborhood drift in, children playing, someone singing, the rumble of a passing motorino, the call of a street vendor. Finally, Maria Rosa checks the old clock on the wall and clucks her tongue. Look at the time, it's past 1 o'clock. You haven't had lunch, have you? The friends realize she's right. They've been so absorbed in learning that they haven't noticed the passage of time or the growing hunger in their bellies. You must eat, Maria Rosa declares firmly. And you must eat proper Neapolitan pizza. Come, come, I'll take you to my cousin's pizzeria. Best pizza in the Spanish Quarter, maybe best in all of Naples, though everyone says that about their favorite place. She won't accept any protests. She shoos them out of the workshop, locks the door behind her, and leads them through the maze-like streets of the Spanish Quarter, moving with surprising speed for someone her age, calling out greetings to neighbors as they pass, stopping once to admire someone's new baby being shown off from a third-floor window. The pizzeria is small, just a narrow storefront with a few small tables outside, and a massive wood-fired oven visible inside, the fire burning hot and bright. The owner, Maria Rosa's cousin, a large man with a mustache and flour-covered apron, greets them warmly, kissing Maria Rosa on both cheeks, shaking hands with each of the friends. Americans? He asks in English. Visitors, Maria Rosa corrects, here to help save a festival in Rome. They need feeding. Your best margarita, Antonio. 4 of them. Antonio nods seriously. For you, cousin, and for saviors of festivals. Absolutely. The best. You sit, I make. They settle at one of the tiny outside tables, barely big enough for 4, their knees nearly touching underneath. The street is narrow here, shaded by the buildings, relatively cool despite the midday hour. People pass by, locals mostly, going about their daily business, stopping to chat with Antonio, peering curiously but kindly at the unusual visitors. While they wait for their pizza, Maria Rosa orders them Neapolitan coffee. Not espresso this time, but cafe Americano, which is actually very different from American coffee. It's espresso diluted with hot water, served in proper cups with saucers, strong but drinkable. And then the pizza arrives. 4 pizzas, each on its own plate, each a perfect circle about the size of a dinner plate. The crust is thin in the center, thicker at the edges, slightly charred in spots from the hot oven. The toppings are simple. Bright red tomato sauce made from San Marzano tomatoes, rounds of fresh mozzarella cheese, still slightly melted and stretchy, fresh basil leaves, a drizzle of olive oil. But simple doesn't mean plain. This pizza is extraordinary. The crust is both crispy and chewy, with that slight smokiness from the wood fire. The tomato sauce is sweet and bright and perfectly balanced. The mozzarella is creamy and mild. The basil adds a fresh, slightly peppery note. It's pizza reduced to its essence. No fancy toppings needed because the basics are so perfect. Oh, Peach breathes after her first bite. Oh, this is incredible. This is what pizza should taste like, Biscuit agrees, his eyes closed in appreciation. Even Sunny, usually too sleepy to be enthusiastic about food, is wide awake and eating with obvious delight. It's so good, she says between bites. So good. Mittens' silver bell tinkles continuously as she eats, unable to stop moving with pleasure. I understand now why they say Neapolitan pizza is the best. I understand completely. Maria Rosa watches them eat with satisfaction, occasionally calling out comments to her cousin about how much they're enjoying the pizza. Antonio responding with prideful gestures and declarations that of course they're enjoying it. He made it with his own hands, with the best ingredients. They eat slowly, savoring every bite, and when they finish, crust and all, every last bit, they sit back in their chairs with contentment. Now, Maria Rosa says, for dessert, you cannot visit Naples without trying sfogliatella. Antonio, four sfogliatella per favore. Antonio disappears into his pizzeria and returns with a small white box. Inside are four pastries, each one shaped like a seashell, layers upon layers of thin, crispy pastry, wrapped in a spiral, filled with sweet ricotta cream, dusted with powdered sugar, still slightly warm from the oven. The friends each take one, and the first bite is a revelation. The pastry shatters delicately, creating flakes that fall onto the plate and table. The ricotta filling is sweet but not too sweet, creamy, flavored with a hint of orange and cinnamon. The contrast between the crispy pastry and the soft filling is perfect. I'm going to dream about this, Mittens says seriously. This pastry is going to appear in my dreams. They eat their sfogliatella slowly, reverently, making them last. And when they're done, when they've brushed the last powdery flakes from their faces and licked the last bit of filling from their paws and wings, Maria Rosa stands. Now you've had proper Neapolitan food, she declares. Now you're ready for anything. Tomorrow you take the ferry to Capri, you find Julia, you get your magical yarn, and then you return to Rome and save that festival. She pauses, then adds more softly, and maybe, if you have time before you leave Naples, you come back to visit Maria Rosa. Tell her how it went. She likes to know the endings of stories. We will, Peach promises, standing and giving the older woman a gentle hug. We'll come back before we leave, and thank you for everything, for the lesson, for the guidance, for the pizza. Bah, Maria Rosa says, but she's smiling widely, her eyes bright. This is what we do here. We help, we feed, we share. This is Naples. They say goodbye to Antonio as well, thanking him profusely for the incredible meal. He waves them off with flour-covered hands, already turning to the next customers. And then the four friends make their way back through the Spanish Quarter, through the busy Naples streets, toward the port where they'll catch tomorrow's ferry to Capri. As they walk, full and content and armed with new knowledge and direction, they talk quietly about the day, about Maria Rosa's kindness, about the stretch stitch they learned, about the pizza and sfogliatella that exceeded all expectations about tomorrow's journey to the island. They returned to their hotel, a small, modest place near the port that they'd checked into that morning before going to find Maria Rosa, and collapse on their beds, suddenly aware of how tired they are. It's only mid-afternoon, but they've been traveling and learning and absorbing new experiences since dawn. Sunny is asleep within seconds, her small form curled up, her polka dot bow on the nightstand. The others aren't far behind. Mittens settles on her bed with a contented sigh, her collar with its silver bell catching afternoon light from the window. Biscuit stretches out, his checkered scarf draped over a chair. And Peach, after setting her teal beret carefully on the dresser, the woven peach still perfectly positioned on the left side, lies down and lets her eyes close. They nap through the warm afternoon, the sounds of Naples drifting through their open window, voices, traffic, music, the eternal sounds of a city alive and unashamed of its noise. When they wake in the early evening, refreshed, they venture out briefly to find dinner, something simple, just pasta and a salad at a small trattoria near their hotel. They eat quietly, still full from lunch, but needing something, talking softly about tomorrow's ferry ride, about meeting Julia, about the yarn they hope to find. They return to their hotel early, knowing they need to catch the first ferry to Capri in the morning. They prepare for bed, moving through their evening routines, setting an alarm for early. And as they settle into their beds, as the Naples night deepens outside their window, they feel hopeful, excited, certain that they're on the right path. Tomorrow will bring the island, the sea, the lemon groves, and, if Maria Rosa is right, the perfect yarn and the perfect person to make it. For now, though, there is only rest, only the gentle darkness, only sleep. Sleep well, dear listener. Tomorrow brings the island. Tomorrow brings Julia. Tomorrow brings the yarn that will save the festival. But tonight, only peace, only rest, only dreams of pizza and pastry and the kindness of strangers who become friends.